Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. All about nutrition from your favorite dietitian. Everything you need to digest in your mind. Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. Making you healthier one bite at a time. With Tony. Woo.
Hello and welcome to the Tips with Tony podcast. I'm Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time. I'm so excited because today I have Carla Biesinger on the podcast. Carla is someone who I had the pleasure of working with about 2 years ago. She was one of my business coaches, and now I've just watched her whole business platform and everything just changed, and I'm really excited for you guys to learn from her today. So Carla, welcome to the podcast. Please introduce yourself, tell people who you are, what you do, and why you do what you do.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. So my name is Carla Biesinger. I'm originally from Germany. I've spent the last 13 years kind of traveling all over the world. I've lived in Australia, Argentina, Mexico, New York, and now I'm in Lisbon, Portugal. I create online courses and I specialize in helping women build their online business through the power of Instagram. So I help them get clients through Instagram, grow their audience, grow their reach, and make a bigger impact. And I do this because that's literally been my life goal. And we'll talk more about this probably, but my journey hasn't been like a very straight one. I kind of never really knew what my purpose in life was, but I always knew that I wanted to live a life that's different. And I wanted to live a life full of freedom and just being able to wake up where I want and just do something that fulfills me. And I randomly figured out that Instagram is something that I'm really good at. And so I realized, okay, I grew my own Instagram account to over 10,000 followers in 6 months. And I started talking to a lot of people on Instagram who asked me, how are you doing this? And I just realized that by teaching them what I do, I was able to help them build their dream or grow their business and realize their dream. And that was helping me realize mine. So that's a little bit about my journey.
Well, so you kind of mentioned that your road to here wasn't really super straight and clear. If you want to maybe just kind of give us a little bit more of a background of kind of like how you did end up here.
Sure. So when I was 24, I moved to Argentina. I wanted to learn Spanish and I was just supposed to be there for 3 months. But as life happens, I met a guy, I fell in love, and we actually started a business together. So it was him and his best friend, who is a chef from Thailand. And together we started hosting dinners in our apartment. So basically dinners for tourists, giving them the best of Argentine cuisine and culture in a very fun and interactive way. So we did that for about 18 months. And the idea was, and I think that's why I fell for him, because he also had that vision of just living a life that's just unconventional and, you know, sharing food and creating food experiences around the world and then just traveling and continuing to just live this life. Now, we did that for 18 months. Then we met an investor who basically gave us some money so we could actually move into a real restaurant. So we did that and we went really big. We went from just being the three of us to suddenly having a team of 30 staff, having bills that were 25 times higher to what we were paying when we were in the apartment, but we didn't make 25 times the income.
Right.
So the next few years were really, really difficult. We were basically just working 16 hours a day, Monday through Sunday, just trying to survive. And it just became all about making more money, making the investor happy. And it wasn't about the dream at all. And so eventually I left in 2016 and I started over. I moved back in with my mom. I was 29 at the time. I was, I had all these plans about spending my 30th birthday with all these people that now weren't in my life anymore. And I just kind of regrouped, cried a lot, my poor mom, and then decided, okay, like, I'm in charge of this. I can still achieve what I always wanted to achieve. It's just, I just have to start over. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how I started with the online business.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's really, really crazy, because I feel like you could have easily given up at that point, you know, decided to just go back to safety, which could have been like a 9-to-5 type of a job, you know, and instead you're just like, no, I really, really I like what this was giving me up to a point. I just have to try this again in a different way. So, because I think you're really like, you really do have, with that quote unquote like laptop lifestyle, like you literally can work from anywhere and you do it. So we were just, before we even got onto the podcast, we were talking about, you're like, come visit me. And I'm like, no, I will, I could, I should. Like, why not? I technically have that laptop lifestyle too, but I still think I'm just still accustomed to putting like limits on myself. And so I'm not where you are, where you literally can just like travel and pick up, but you still work and you still do the things that you need to do, which I think is really, really cool. A lot of people say they want to do something and then don't actually do it, but you really do follow through with that. And I think that's really admirable.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So something else we were talking about before we hopped on is, you know, like a lot of people who listen to my podcast are probably like, oh, that's great. She helps people run businesses, but like, how does that apply to me? Because I think what most people who listen to the podcast are really just trying to eat healthier, go to the gym more, you know, practice self-care a little bit more, stuff like that. But I don't think they realize that by doing that, they're opening up this gate of potential and possibilities and that self-confidence that they get. So one of my clients who recently just graduated from my nutrition coaching program, you know, she's ready to go. She has her eating habits in check, her exercise in check. She's feeling really good. She's feeling really confident. And something that she kind of realized throughout the program was like, you know, we've identified that, you know, by going to her 9-to-5 and staying way past the actual 9-to-5 and like kind of, you know, realizing that she needs to set boundaries because those boundaries help her eat healthier and get to, you know, the gym more and all that. She's kind of also realized that why is she working so hard for somebody else when she truly believes that she could do the same thing for herself in some way? She doesn't know exactly what, but really has just been interested in asking me a ton of questions about like how to be an entrepreneur, which I love and I'm so grateful for. But at the same time, like I only can really help people who are in nutrition, like learn how to do that, like who want to register dietitians, who, you know, and I'm not even doing that right now. People have asked me to coach them and help. I'm like, no, I'm not ready yet because I'm still figuring it out myself, right? But you really do help people do that. You help people kind of figure out, like, if they are going to kind of want to build their own business, if they want to start kind of that quote unquote side hustle, like where do they begin? So I guess, like, do you have maybe some basic tips for someone who is starting to think about like knowing that they want something more, they want to have more of that laptop lifestyle, they want to do their own business, but they don't really know where to start?
Yeah, I think one of the best pieces of advice I've received when I started this business was you have to find a combination of your passion and your skill set and the gap in the market, right? Because you have to feel passionate about what you do because you're going to do it every day, and you're not just going to do it 9-to-5. You're also going to do it like Saturdays and Sundays, and you know, you're going to probably work more than 9 hours a day for at least the first few years. So you have to really feel passionate about what you do. Mm-hmm. And then you have to obviously be good at it. So you have to have a skill set, and then there has to be a gap for it in the market. So there has to be a demand. And this is actually something where a lot of people think I have to come up with this like crazy new idea, something that doesn't exist yet. But that's not actually true. If there's demand for something, then or if there is already supply for something, it means that there's demand, right? So you don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel. You just have to do it in your own way. Right. So the two things you need in order to make money online are, one, you need to have an audience, and then two, you have to have an offer. So you need to have something to sell and someone to sell it to. Mm-hmm. And that's then kind of the first steps you take. Growing an audience, so picking a platform, and you could go on Facebook, you could go on Pinterest, you could go on YouTube. I'm an Instagram expert, so I recommend Instagram. You can build your email list, and you just start literally putting yourself out there and try and attract people who resonate with you and who are going to be your potential clients. Mm-hmm. And then eventually you present them with your offer.
Yeah, I think that's really, really great. You said two things that I want to kind of circle back to just to make clear. The one, which is if there's something that's already out there, that means that there's a demand for it. So I'm just, once again, I can only really speak to nutrition because that's what I do and it's what I literally spend my whole waking hours and it's all I'm around. But I think a lot of people coming up in that space will say it's a saturated market. Like there's so many nutrition coaches. There's so many registered dietitians doing online. There's so many, this and that. It's like, yeah, but no, first of all, more than a quarter of them are BS, like honestly. And then even the ones that are legit, like no one's doing it in your way. No one's connecting to you like you. And so I think that was a really great thing that you said. The second thing that you mentioned was kind of creating that platform. So it could be email, YouTube, Instagram, and all that. What would you say, just to play devil's advocate a little bit, what would you say about the argument, because I know this is what people hear, is that like Instagram, like you don't own your Instagram. So building a business on Instagram almost sounds like quote unquote silly or not the smartest move. What would you say to something like that?
I agree with that. I think building your email list is definitely the smartest thing you can do because that's the only thing you earn. It's your biggest asset. Mm-hmm. So yes, you can, but how do you get people onto your email address, right? Onto your list. You can't just buy someone else's list.
Right. You need permission really for email. Like you have to ask someone for their email versus like on Instagram, they just click and follow. It's like, you're not asking for anything, but if you put something, then they'll give it to you. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I know a lot of friends of mine who started out and they literally, one friend, she is a coach and she went through her contact list in her phone book. She started at the letter A and she literally called every single person in her phone book and said, hey, I know it's been 2 years and we haven't spoken, but this is what I do now. Do you need help with that? Or do you know anyone who does? Mm-hmm. And even just by adding that, do you know anyone who does? You get their wheels turning. Yeah. And then suddenly if they're talking to someone and they'll think of you and they'll be like, oh, you should talk to so-and-so.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So that would be probably step number 2. Like once you have an offer and an audience, the second step was then to actually reach out and to let people know like you're in business.
Exactly.
And I think that's the part that makes a lot of people uncomfortable as like the cold messages and like, but honestly, the more you do that, the more you start to feel comfortable. And then eventually you won't really even have to really do that because you're going to just be known in that space after a period of time. But I think that's another good piece of advice is to actually like message people and let them know, hey, I'm open. Like, I have something. Also, people are like in their own world. Like, it still bothers me though. Like, I would think I'm known in the space, but I still get messages about like, hey, I'm trying to lose a ton of weight. Like, do you have a suggestion for like a supplement I can take? And it's like, do you not listen to like anything? Do you not read anything? Like, you just hear that I'm a dietitian and they'll call me a nutritionist, which I am, but it's like, do you not like actually pay attention like to what I'm saying? So sometimes you have to be clear about like what you offer and who it's for and all of that. But for the most part, I think just like letting people, like waking people up and like getting them to pay attention is helpful.
Yeah. There's a book called Will It Fly by Pat Flynn. And he basically talks about, okay, so you have an idea. This is something you want to do, like, will it fly? And he kind of talks you through about how you validate your idea. And one of the exercises he gets you to do is to actually tell people about your idea. And that you might be in the coffee shop and you're like, hey, the person next to you, can I buy you a coffee and tell you about this thing that I'm working on? So it's definitely uncomfortable, but even just the challenge of telling 10 people in the next week that you're thinking about quitting your job and starting your own thing. And obviously picking people who are going to be supportive and not necessarily.
I was going to say that sounds great, but also scary. And like, if you have to be careful who you just choose to like open up your mouth to.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing that I don't think people are really. I think that's why going the entrepreneurial route is. I mean, it's becoming more common now, but it's still very scary and daunting because, you know, you have a lot of people who just aren't willing to kind of take that chance. It's the unknown, right? It's not having a consistent paycheck each week to week. It's not knowing like, how do I structure my day? It's like not knowing if it's going to be successful or not. It's hard. So if you go to the wrong, you already kind of have those doubts in your head. So if you go to the wrong people, they could just validate that.
True. So in that case, if you're like completely new and you don't even have people who you think you can talk to about this, it might be find people who you can talk to about this. Mm-hmm. So go to meetups or connect with people on Instagram and like find people who will support your dreams. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you'll be surprised. There's so many people who are also thinking about doing that or who want to do that, but they're also scared. So just by putting yourself into a different room with different people, you're going to be able to get a different outcome.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good piece of advice. Like I know when I first started, I went on things like Eventbrite. I like Googled certain meetups where it was like women girl bosses, you know, and I think that's really helpful. You've spoken at a few of those events, right? Like you do a lot of that where you'll come in and be like kind of the guest speaker, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's definitely, I feel like I've been to a couple with you or even invited me and then you meet people there. And it's nice to be in an environment with people who just get it, like just totally get it or have been there and now are sharing their story.
And then also, you know, this was something in my journey, I have had to say goodbye to people in my life who were just not supporting my dream. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't easy, but it's like, I know that this is the right path for me. So if you can't support that, then either we can't have these kinds of conversations or just, I'm no longer on this team.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, that's similar when someone goes through like a weight loss journey and stuff, and it's like not to say that you can never go out and like, you know, binge drink with your friends and, you know, all that, but at the same time, like you're going to have to kind of limit that if you expect to get up for the next day and go to the gym and feel really good, and that might mean that you spend less time with certain friends. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're good or bad or what, it's just you're spending less time with them, and I think you're right. Like sometimes that means that, you know, relationships with people are going to be different. Yeah. So, okay. So this has been good so far. So if someone's starting to, want to kind of move towards doing like an online business, they need an audience and they need an offer. You definitely said that was a really great book. Repeat that book again.
Will It Fly by Pat Flynn.
Will It Fly by Pat Flynn. Okay. So definitely, and then so listen to personal development books like that. Surround yourself with people who kind of get you, talk about it. Is there anything else you feel like someone should take a step that someone should take or something someone should do kind of when they're first starting out?
When I first started out, I was just soaking up so much content. There's so many podcasts and blogs and free courses and free resources about this. So I was literally just kind of trying to put the pieces together until I kind of knew, okay, I know that for me it was, I want to create an online course. So then I took an online course about how to create an online course. And I just kind of, it was a small investment. It was a few $100s. And from there, I just kind of continued to on your own. It's just going to be so much more difficult and it's going to take so much more time. So how can you find people who can help you get to where you want to get faster?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and I feel like my audience is probably tired of me saying this, but I really believe in hiring a coach. So I'm just going to say it again. I'm curious for you, did at some point you hire someone to kind of help you so you didn't have to do it 100% alone?
Yeah, from that first online course, that was the first investment. I mean, I think last year alone, I spent probably $40,000 on coaching. And
so you said last year you spent about $40,000 in coaching and education. Now, did you see a return on that investment?
Yeah. I mean, within 2 months of working with my coach, I had my first $10,000 month.
Nice.
Just 2 months. And then it's just been like growing ever since. Amazing. So I would have never gotten there. It was a very, very scary investment. But it's like, okay, I'm going to say yes to myself. I'm going to say yes to my business. And I'm literally going to go all in. Mm-hmm. No more dabbling and no more just like in and like one step forward, 2 steps back. I'm like, this is it. I'm giving myself. And I gave myself a deadline. I said, I'm doing this. I'm doing it for a year. And if I don't get to where I want to get, I'm going to do something else.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I think, so that actually adds to another point, I would say. I think there's at a certain point you do have to go all in, because if you really want to give something a shot and to really make like a full-time living and income off of it, you're going to have to make an investment, but you're also going to have to be able to like really dedicate most of your time to be able to get that back in return. But at the same time, I think where people get a little bit stuck is maybe, I don't know, I'm wondering what your thoughts are on about like building something while working or just going all in. Like, what would you say to someone who maybe is like working full time and is like, I don't have time to start a business, but then I don't know if I'm ready to quit just yet. So what would you say to something like that?
So I think if you're just starting out and you're building a side hustle, then maybe you can just set aside some time, whether it's a couple of hours in the day or, you know, one day on the weekend. Like, you're either going to have to invest time or money, right? So in the beginning, maybe it's going to be time. Mm-hmm. And just like for me, for example, my business is my full-time thing. I really want to start writing, and I'm having a really difficult time fitting it into my day. So I'm literally going to start blocking out writing time.
Right.
And what was the other question?
Kind of just more so, it was more general.
Just when like, it's like time to take the leap.
Yeah. Do you think, so I guess like, should you just go all in without really start testing the waters first? Or should you kind of test the waters and then when do you know it's time to like make that leap?
I think it's really important to have a financial runway. So when I started my online business, I didn't know exactly what I was going to create or how I was going to do it. But I was living in Mexico at the time, so it was really cheap. I was living off like $400 a month. I had enough money to keep me going.
I don't understand. I literally was like, I was in Wisconsin for the TED Talk, and I was like, honestly, like the amount that I paid for the hotel, like I could just pay hotel. I don't have to pay rent because why? It was such a nice place. Sorry.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. So that for me, you know, my first year in business, I spent half the year in Mexico and the other half living with my mom just to save money. Yeah. But I had that financial runway. I had 6 months that would just keep me going. And I knew, okay, by the end of the 6 months, I have to at least be making this amount of money or else I have to like relook at things.
Right. Yeah, because I will say that I think what makes, I'm going to say us, and what makes us successful is that we truly love what we do. We're very passionate about it. But if we had to stress about making a living and like we would do this for free because we love it that much. But if we had to stress about paying bills and all that, then we're not coming across as our genuine, good-hearted self. And it becomes really challenging to really give our clients and our community and our listeners what they need if in the back of our mind we're just like, holy crap, I can't even like, I can't pay the rent this month or something like that. You know what I mean? It definitely takes away, I think, being an entrepreneur, especially like on an online platform, like your biggest asset is your energy and your mood, and money, financial money and stress can totally tear from that. So I definitely think that's a good piece of advice.
Totally.
To definitely have like some money saved, so that way you can genuinely do what you want to do without feeling stressed about it.
Yeah.
Not like having to write because you have to, but writing because you want to, and you can afford to take that time to do that.
Yes.
Awesome.
So I have one client, for example, she quit her job at the end of 2019, 31st of December, and she's taking the leap, but she's taking on a couple of side projects that are just going to give her a stable income. But that income means that she's not going to have to spend 9 hours a day on a desk. She can do that for like 3 hours a day, and then she still has the whole rest of the day to work on her actual business and passion.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good thing too. Yeah. You could also do like find something per diem or something part-time to just free up that time for you. So that way you can invest more into your business. I think that's definitely helpful. Okay. This is so good. I know you have another call soon, so I want to be mindful of your time. Is there anything we didn't talk about that you feel like, someone needs to hear, or anything you want to discuss?
I think just in general, and this is whether you're wanting to build your own business or whether you're chasing a health goal or just any dream, I think it's sometimes we get stuck and we know at the back of our mind that we want something different for ourselves, but we just get kind of comfortable, and we're just I moved to Berlin last winter. I was there for 6 months, and I just wasn't very happy, but it was okay. And the fear of having to move again and having to start again was so big that it just kept me in this like, okay, like state. Mm-hmm. When really I believe if we're given one life, it's our duty to make this life extraordinary. Mm-hmm. So yes, going after your dream is always going to be uncomfortable in some way, but everything great is outside your comfort zone. Yeah. So just really checking in with yourself and seeing like, am I actually happy with the way I'm living my life? Mm-hmm. And if not, what's just one step I can take to change that, and to like one step to get closer to my dream.
Yeah. I love that. And yeah, I mean, listen, it's been done before. Like, I think it all starts with the belief that you can do it, and then just not letting go of that vision. How you get there might change, but the little step adds to another step, which adds to another step, and then all of a sudden you're just like, wow, like looking back, I mean, Carla was the first coach that I ever hired for my online business, and if I didn't do that, like, I wouldn't be here today. Like, I wouldn't be. I really wouldn't be. It's kind of amazing, how I decided to take that one step, or even just like making my blog, Tips with Tony, making it an official business and getting my LLC. Like, that was the first step. And the second step was hiring Carla. Then the third step was implementing the things that she said. Then it was like going, getting rid of one of my jobs, because I worked many jobs as I built my business, and it was slow, but, my vision was to be able to have that laptop lifestyle. And it wasn't so much just about the fact that I wanted, because I'm not even doing that. Like, it's not like it's because I wanted to like be on the beach and like coach clients. It's that I wanted to be able to make a bigger impact in this world and in this life. And I think that's exactly what you're trying to do. You're just trying to get people to see that they're, they don't have to settle. Like, why are you settling?
Yeah, don't settle.
Don't settle. Do what you want to do. Like, you only have one life to live. Yeah.
I love that. I'm going to make that a phrase. I'm going to turn that into a t-shirt.
Do it. So Carla, your business has grown, and now you went from coaching clients kind of just privately to doing the course, to coaching privates cliently, to now you have your own mastermind. So if you want to maybe talk to people like those who are listening kind of about what your services are, what you can offer them, and how they can find you.
Sure. So if you're wanting to grow your Instagram, then I have a free Instagram webinar that will definitely get you started and just give you the right ideas of how to manage this platform. And then I have my signature course, which is Instagram Secrets to Success. And if you are...
That's with you.
That's how it all started.
That's step 1A. I took the course and then I'm like, I need to hire her.
Yeah. Oh my God. And then if you already have an audience, I have what's called the Scale Up Club, which is my membership site, which is going to help you turn your followers actually into clients. So that's all about getting more clients, launching something online if you want to create an online course, how to sell your offers, how to create an irresistible offer. So those are kind of the two things I'm focusing on right now.
Awesome.
And they can find me at Carla Biesinger on Instagram, which you might want to link in the show notes because my last name is not.
Yes, I will link it. For sure. Awesome, Carla. Anything else?
Thank you. I'm so excited to be on your podcast.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's an absolute pleasure. Carla, thank you for just being part of my story and helping me get to where I am today. So
thank you. I can't wait to see what's yet to come.
Yeah, exciting. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. If you're not already subscribed to the Tips with Tony podcast, please subscribe. It allows other people to find the podcast, but more importantly, it notifies you when a new episode comes out, which is every Monday and every Wednesday. As always, I'm Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time.